For nearly 50 years now, Checkbook's undercover shoppers have collected more than 1 million prices from hundreds of retailers and service providers, department stores, home improvement contractors, auto repair shops, travel booking sites, and on and on and on. Time and time again, we find the same thing: huge price differences, sometimes more than twice as much from company to company for the exact same product or service. One reason for this? Companies know most customers won't bother to shop around, so they can name their own price. I'm Herb Weisbaum, the Consumer Man, a contributing editor at Checkbook.org.
Welcome to Consumerpedia at Checkbook.org. We're the nonprofit that helps consumers select services, avoid trouble, and save money. Because we don't accept any advertising or take money from any business we recommend, you can rely on Checkbook.org to be completely independent and objective. Now, here's the host of Consumerpedia, America's consumer expert, the Consumer Man, Herb Weisbaum.
You know, sometimes we don't compare prices because we're in a rush, or we don't want to scour the internet for the lowest price on a stove or the cheapest hotel room. But all too often we believe shoppers don't compare prices because they've been duped into thinking they're getting a great deal. Checkbook's assembled 30 ways sellers try to fool you to buy now and pay more. In this episode, Checkbook's executive editor Kevin Brassler will share some of them.
Hey, Herb, how are you?
Kevin, many of these marketing tricks have been around forever, but some are new. And from where I sit, many companies these days seem emboldened to use more dishonest sales tactics.
Yeah, I think technology has really opened the door to a lot more of this type of abuse. Companies are scooping up so much data in terms of what we're doing online and where we go and maybe what we say around our phones, that it's really enabled them to figure out ways to be increasingly successful in sneaky ways. And some companies, they seem far more willing than ever to just straight up lie to their customers, as we'll discuss in this episode. They really should be ashamed of themselves. Dishonesty now is really kind of a normal way of doing business for a lot of different retailers and other sellers.
Yeah, it is, and it's very sad. The most common way they mislead shoppers is by holding constant sales and advertising fake discounts. I know that for more than a decade now, Checkbook has tracked and studied retailers' discount claims, and we find that many of them are deceptive.
In our article, we discussed 30 misleading tactics, and I think fake sales probably do the most financial harm to the most shoppers. Our researchers here, we recently tracked prices of big-ticket items sold at 24 major retailers. We did this tracking for 33 weeks, and we found that the sales at 21 of those 24 stores were usually or often just bogus. What they're doing is retailers are constantly claiming that they're offering items for less, that they're offering them for 40% off or $100 off or whatever. But all these special sales events, Black Friday and Cyber Monday and President's Day and on, they're just excuses to pretend to offer us deals. What we found, though, is that almost all stores, even though they tell their customers they're offering them discounts, they're not true discounts. They're just attempts to mislead. It starts out with all those crossed out prices you see in stores and online. Those crossed out prices, they're meaningless. Retailers and manufacturers, they invented them just so they can inflate the perceived value of the items that they're selling so that they can provide us the illusion of getting lower prices. What we found is that at most retailers, the sales just never end. All those crossed out prices you see are bogus. Instead, they're just trying to trick their customers into thinking they're getting good deals based on discounts that really aren't discounts at all.
And the marketing folks even have a term for those crossed out list prices and regular prices. It's called the anchor price.
Yeah, what's disturbing is that most retailers rarely, if ever, charge those crossed out prices. So if I'm selling you something and I tell you I'm offering you a special price today or for this week or whatever, but I never actually charge that higher supposedly regular price, then I'm just lying to you. And that's what's happening here. Retailers are lying to us all the time now by saying they're offering us special prices that aren't special at all, because the crossed out price that they're referencing, that they're telling us, oh, that's the real value of this item and I'm giving you a discount off of that, they rarely, if ever, charge that original price, so it's meaningless.
I think the problem is getting worse. For many years, it was mostly department stores doing this, and it's not just limited to them anymore.
Yeah, so when we started tracking sales, the guiltiest companies of having all these fake sales were Macy's and Bloomingdale's and JCPenney and Kohl's, mostly department stores. But now we found that the scheme is spread really to kind of all corners. We're now finding that nearly every major retailer's sales are fake. And so are many other types of sellers. They're using this also. Like travel sites, for example, are often offering this discounts that aren't really discounts at all. Everyone has caught on and adopted these fake sales because it works. We all fall for it. It's only natural that you'd fall for it. If you tell someone, hey, just for a limited time, I'm going to sell this to you for 40% off or 60% off. It's such a strong inducement. It's half off or whatever. They're practically giving it away. So there's no point in shopping around. I'd better stop thinking about this and jump on it. If I don't jump on this lower price now, the price might go back to normal and I'll miss out.
But as you said, that doesn't happen. They just come up with some other excuse to offer you the same thing on sale for some other reason.
Yeah, consumers need to know that all these sales are bogus and there's really no rush. You're not missing out on a supposedly big deal because if a company never charges that original price, if it's just invented it so they can give you some fake discount, then you're not getting a special price. You just think you are. And that's why they're doing it. It's a strong, powerful way of selling something is to say, I'm giving you this great deal. You better jump on it. They want you to rush and buy. But it also serves another purpose. Because the next thing you'll do is think, as I've done, well, I saved so much on this one thing. It was 40% off that now I can afford to buy even more. And it's all by design, and the design works, which is why so many companies do it now. But all this lying, what it's really doing is harming consumers.
The next marketing trick I want to talk about is related to fake sales, and it's scarcity warnings. How some online retailers try to rush you into making a decision. There's only one hotel room left, or we only have one of this item left in stock, so you better buy now. It's the old hurry up and don't lose out routine.
Yeah, and these claims are also misleading. We tracked hotel prices, for example, for months and found that all those only one room left warnings were bogus. I've tracked stuff on Amazon, which also displays similar warnings, and found that, the next day and the next week, all the stuff I checked that supposedly were in short supply, only 2 left in stock, well, no, they were still available down the road. Warning customers that they may miss out is just another way companies lie to us to get us to act now and buy now and stop all this pesky, thinking about whether I really need this item or maybe, speaking to my partner or spouse about it. They just want you to jump on their offer.
As we've warned about in a previous podcast, companies also use deceptive patterns to trick us into clicking on the wrong thing or signing up for a service we may not want. These tactics are called dark patterns, and they're becoming more devious and more widespread.
Yeah, one way they do this is that a lot of companies, they'll throw us messages online that include confusing wording. So, for example, they'll alternate the meaning of no and off when asking users how they want to designate their preferences for receiving future email offers. Or they'll come up with deceptive designs that make it difficult to locate or see, like a small X to get rid of a pop-up ad, or they'll move around the position of the close button in a way where it's not where you normally see it in most software applications or online. What they hope is that you'll accidentally tap on the ad rather than getting rid of it. An example of this is my kids' sports teams. They use these apps that are great at sharing information about where practice will be and when it's going to be and whether it's canceled or not and who's coming. But they're horrible at using dark patterns to trick me into clicking on the wrong thing. They always come up with these little pop-up ads, and the close or the little X button to close the ad is always in a different spot with each ad. And sometimes it's really difficult to find. Sometimes retailers use dark patterns to illegally upsell their customers. Amazon, for example, has been accused of using deceptive patterns to enroll users in its Prime program. Sometimes it'll say, like, click here to get a certain delivery window, and what it's actually doing is enrolling you in Prime to get Prime delivery. And you may not have wanted that.
Another dark pattern is making it really easy to subscribe, but difficult or impossible to cancel. Last year, the FTC proposed a click to cancel rule that would require sellers to make it just as easy for you to cancel your enrollment as it is to sign up. Right now, the FTC is holding hearings and taking comments about this. It's possible we could see that proposed click-to-cancel rule published before the end of the year.
Yeah, I hope so. It is absurd that companies make it easy to sign up for stuff online or to upgrade your memberships online. but make you call some customer service rep to cancel. Some gyms, they take it a step further. They make their members visit in person to cancel their memberships, and they do that so that they can have their sales staff work over people. But if you're able to sign up for a membership online, you should be able to cancel online also. So this needs to stop. I hope the FTC fixes this soon.
And not after 16 clicks. It's one click to sign up. It's got to be one click to cancel. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah, if you're going to make it easy to enroll, why not make it easy to disenroll? Why make me hunt for it or make a phone call? It's ridiculous.
Ads, testimonials, product reviews from social media influencers. They push us to buy. It's relentless. And all too often, it's not clear these glowing reviews are paid ads. Well, that's straight ahead. I'm Herb Weisbaum, and you're listening to Consumerpedia, powered by Checkbook.org.
If you like what you hear, we hope you'll consider being a Consumerpedia supporter by using the link at the bottom of the show notes to make a small contribution each month. This is Consumerpedia.
Shopping online these days means being flooded with ads when you search for something on a retailer's website. And in the last year or so, Kevin, it's really gotten out of hand.
Yeah, it's becoming a really big problem. If you search for a product on Amazon or Google or Walmart's website, Target's website, or Facebook, much of what you'll get shown these days are ads. The same is true if you use Instacart and restaurant delivery apps. Most of these companies, they include little hard-to-see disclosures as to what's an ad and what's not. They'll say sponsored or something like that. But they're now displaying so many ads that shoppers are overwhelmed. Most search results, for example, on Amazon, what it will show you are ads. It's hard to blame Google and Facebook too much for doing this. I mean, after all, those companies exist mostly as advertising vehicles. It's just what they do. But many retailers, especially Amazon, they're shifting away from showing us what we want to see, right? The products with the best price to quality ratio, and instead prioritizing stuff from their biggest advertisers. Amazon now rakes in more than $50 billion a year from these sponsored ads, and it said it wants to collect even more revenue from this side of its business. That revenue is clearly a big priority for Amazon, and it shows when you shop there now. I mean, it's overwhelming and confusing and really unfair to the suppliers and companies that list items there that don't want to pay these huge fees to show up. What's happening is that these companies are often intentionally steering us in the wrong directions. Rather than helping us identify the best products and prices that we're looking for, they're just showing us tons of ads. It's very confusing, and sometimes what they're showing you in the top search results aren't the best items. They're not what we'd want to buy. They're the items from companies and manufacturers and other retailers that paid them the most money for that placement.
One of the ways a lot of companies sell stuff these days is to have endorsements from celebrities or social media influencers, and they pay them for this. But these influencers may not disclose they're getting paid, which is against the rules. People have to watch out for that.
Yeah, they rarely disclose these arrangements. I mean, I think this has really become a scourge. Many consumers these days, they don't even know what they're being shown is an ad or an endorsement deal. My kids fall for this crap all the time. They come to me and they say, oh, we should go to this restaurant or we should go to this amusement park because so-and-so was just there and loved it. And I follow them and watch all their reels and stuff and their stories. Well, what they don't know, because it wasn't disclosed, is that the influencer or family of influencers that they trust so much and they think are so cool, they got paid a lot of money to say those nice things. And it's not an authentic or spontaneous recommendation, right? It's, on social media, these relationships really aren't mentioned. It looks like the FTC is at least beginning to think about cracking down on this. It definitely should do so, and fast. Influencers and celebrities should have to disclose when they get paid to promote stuff as opposed to making it seem like, oh, they just use this thing and they think it's a really good, cool thing to recommend.
Online retailers know what they're doing, and they're very clever about how they show us search results. They display them in a way that gets us to spend more. Kevin, explain how that works.
So sellers know that most consumers, when they present us with a lineup of product models with an array of features and at different price points, that will tend to select the one in the middle. Because I don't need a deluxe whatever, but I don't want the cheapest one either. I kind of want something that's in between, a good value. And stores know that about this, and they use that tendency against us to upsell us. A good example of this is Apple. If you go to its website and you shop for one of its watches, it'll show you 5 options side by side. And so it knows you probably won't plop down $800 for its Nike option, but by showing it to you along with the others at different price points, it hopes you'll decide, first of all, that spending $250 or $400 for one of its middle options, now that seems reasonable because at least I'm not spending $800.
Right.
Google and Amazon and Best Buy and most online retailers, they know this, and they display search results, and it seems like they do so in a seemingly random way, but there ain't nothing random about it. I mean, they are very careful and have formulas to show you a lineup of items, knowing you'll likely pick the one in the middle. And so what they do is they game that search result. They game their webpage in a way to maximize the sale. They know you're going to pick one in the middle, and so they've skewed items in a way to where that one in the middle doesn't seem so costly. But if you had a better way of looking at it and filtering, maybe you would have picked a less expensive item.
That's very clever. It's very sneaky, but it's very clever.
Yeah, and department stores have been doing this for years, right? I mean, there's a reason each rack and each display has a variety of different items at different price points, but they usually kind of do it in a way to where they want to maximize the sale. If you're going to buy something in the middle, at least have it be more expensive than what you might otherwise have picked.
Question: what do all these companies have in common? American Airlines, Hilton Hotels, Hertz, Walmart, Macy's, Costco, Kroger Supermarkets, Starbucks, Sephora, Uber, Chick-fil-A, and Amazon. They all have rewards programs. They can save you money. They can also encourage you to make costly choices. More about that straight ahead. I'm Herb Weisbaum, the Consumer Man, and you're listening to Consumerpedia, powered by Checkbook.org.
Consumerpedia Fast Facts. The very first billboard ads, with posters larger than 50 square feet, were for Barnum and Bailey Circus, displayed in New York in 1835. The first TV ad was aired in 1941 during a baseball game between the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Philadelphia Phillies. It was for Bulova watches, and it lasted 10 seconds.
America runs on Bulova time.
The shortest TV commercial was for Ivar's, a chain of seafood restaurants in the Seattle area. It aired locally during the 2009 Super Bowl and lasted just a half a second. I'm not kidding.
Ivar's!
That same year, Miller ran a 1-second Super Bowl ad.
High life!
Go figure, but it worked, and we're still talking about it.
Try thinking about a major company you buy from that doesn't have a loyalty program. Loyalty programs are big moneymakers for companies these days. We think it's good for us when in many cases, it's really good for them.
Yeah, there's a reason nearly every major company these days has these programs. The main thing they do is they reinforce brand loyalty by providing us with rewards. The problem is, though, that the points we get, they're usually not worth that much. But because we work so hard to accumulate them, they seem valuable. And often, their points are skewed in a way to where it seems like I've gotten a lot here, 100,000 frequent flyer miles, as opposed to, $100 with their frequent flyer miles or whatever. So you had to spend a lot to get there to accumulate all these points. You had to fly a lot to get all these miles. But it's really important to keep in mind that most of these points are worth only like a 1 to 5% rebate. It's peanuts. So, don't get me wrong. I mean, I love my frequent flyer miles. I do accumulate them. I do use them. But I found that, if I can save $200 by booking on a different airline, I should do that because the extra 900 miles or whatever that I'm going to get are really only worth about $9 or $10.
And quite frankly, some of these rewards programs are just fine. If it's get a free burrito or sub sandwich after making so many purchases, I'm in. But it's when these points and rewards encourage you to make a purchasing decision you normally wouldn't make. So you book a higher priced hotel room or get a higher priced airfare just in order to get the points or miles or rewards.
Yeah, especially with travel, a lot of people make the mistake of booking with their preferred airline or hotel chain because that's where they have their points. And what they don't do is they don't shop around because, I'm accumulating all these points and they seem really valuable to me. And the companies really kind of inflate their value, make them seem like you're giving up a lot by not booking with them. And it's all based on, they're building loyalty. They're making you think that what they're offering you in terms of reward is valuable, and usually it's not at all.
And Kevin, here's one that really bothers me. It seems like everybody wants to sell us worthless add-ons these days. Protection plans and extended warranties. You book a flight or a hotel room or concert tickets and you're pushed to protect your purchase. And then if you say no, well, they say your purchase is in jeopardy. It's incredibly annoying.
Yeah, I mean, I bought tires a few months ago and they were trying to sell me a tire protection plan. It was just really expensive for what it was offering. These companies, to sell these plans, they're preying on our loss aversion tendencies. I mean, the thing is that most consumers, they'd much rather avoid losing something than pay the same price to replace it. For some reason, like losing a $100 bill, it feels far more painful to most consumers than paying $100 for something, even if the $100 purchase is kind of worthless. So what these companies do is they warn about big risks at checkout. You know, what if something happens and you have to cancel your trip? Or what if that really expensive product you just bought breaks down? They ramp up the anxiety and then they turn around and sell us a solution in the form of a mini insurance policy to quote unquote protect ourselves. The problem is we've evaluated all these little plans, all these peace of mind policies, and found that they're rarely worth the extra money. I mean, for what they're offering, they're very expensive. The protection they usually offer, the real what you get out of it, even though it's marketed as this way to really protect yourself, they're astonishingly bad. They contain lots of exclusions, and it makes you really wonder in some cases when we dug through these plans what they even cover. There's so many ways that they have to get out of having to actually pay out if you have a claim. Just say no to these plans. They're really bad for consumers. They're very profitable for the businesses that sell them, but bad for us.
By the way, our full article on manipulative marketing describes even more tricks that we didn't have time to talk about in this episode. But Kevin, I'd like to finish with what's probably the biggest problem of all. Companies have become incredibly bold about invading our privacy.
Yeah, we've saved the worst for last year. I mean, marketers increasingly rely on acquiring just vast amounts of data from consumers to use in their marketing schemes, to use against us. Computer and phone manufacturers and internet service providers and Google and other search services, mapping apps, social media websites, credit card companies. I mean, the list goes on and on. Even brick and mortar retailers relentlessly scoop up information about you. I mean, they track every website you go to, how long you're there, what you click on. I mean, they keep tabs on what you buy and what you spend and your credit scores, and they follow your movements from website to website. A lot of these places, they use GPS to record where you travel, and they listen into your conversations. All of this information that they're collecting, it's compiled and sold or traded by thousands of companies. It's fueling a $1 trillion commercial surveillance industry.
And the reality is that if you want to get the best deal from an online retailer or grocery store or department store or whatever, you probably have to join that program that lets them grab all your data.
To get the best prices, these days you often have to join a loyalty program and agree to let them traffic your data. And there's really not much you can do to stop it. I mean, you're going to just, stop using the internet altogether. You're going to stop using devices manufactured by the largest companies. So you're going to stop using software that really is critical to getting work done. And there's rarely clear disclosure of what data these companies collect and what they can do with it. I mean, what you agreed to when you signed off on its terms of use or just use the website. Did you realize that most of the apps on your phone would collect and sell where you traveled every day? I mean, probably not. Problem is that digital privacy laws in the U.S., and there aren't many of them, but for even among the few states that have passed strong laws, they require consumers to take charge of their data and opt out of all this sharing every time they access a new site or download a new app or whatever. And businesses and collect and sell these data, they're counting on you not to do that, of you jumping through those hoops. What's bizarre is we spend so much time trying to keep our data and devices secure from criminals, but then we turn right around and give up all our lives, all our digital private lives to companies that these days really don't deserve our trust. Some companies are increasingly using our info against us, as we talked about here. They're finding sneaky ways of marketing to us based on data that they've scooped up, and we didn't even know they scooped up the data. And they're doing it, not just to service ads. I mean, that's a lot of what's going on here. But they're also doing it to try to decide, what even to offer us. Are they going to offer a product A or B? And they're going to offer us product A based on all this information they've collected about us that we didn't even know they were taking in. They even sometimes decide how much they're going to charge for an item based on all this data that they know about us. They're trying to figure out, what's the highest price I can charge that person based on everything I know about them, which these days is a lot. Instead of being treated as customers these days, we're increasingly viewed as data points that can be sold to other companies. I mean, the value of customer relationships with many retailers these days, They don't care so much about making a profit off what they sell us. What they want to do is scoop up our data and profit off that sale. It's horrible.
Once again, more tips about how to avoid these marketing tricks with our full article on checkbook.org. Kevin, he gave us a lot to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, Herb.
Well, that's it for this edition of Consumerpedia. We hope you'll rate this episode and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Remember, we release new episodes every other Thursday. Another way you can support this show is to follow us on Consumerpedia on Facebook and Instagram, and at My Consumerpedia on Twitter. I'm Herb Weisbaum. Thanks for listening.
Consumerpedia is a public service of Checkbook.org. We're a unique nonprofit that helps you save money and make smarter choices. You can count on Checkbook to help you find the best services and avoid the worst, with local ratings that are accurate and unbiased. If you live in or around these 7 cities and haven't joined Checkbook yet, check us out. Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia, Seattle, San Francisco, Minneapolis-St. Paul, and Washington, D.C. To get your free 30-day subscription, go to checkbook.org/consumerpedia. If you like what you've heard, we hope you'll become a supporter by using the link at the bottom of the show notes to make a small contribution each month. Consumerpedia, empowering consumers to save money and make smarter choices.